Welcome back. In today's class, let us see the other utilization of geothermal sources. So in the previous class we have seen that geothermal sources can be utilized where the steam is coming out of the production well. We can use a cyclone separator to separate the solid particles which are present in the steam, and then use that steam, directly supply that steam to the turbine and produce mechanical energy. So that was a vapor dominated system. Now let us see how to utilize a liquid dominated system. We call a system or a geothermal source as a liquid dominated system if the temperatures are higher but the fluid coming out of the geothermal source, that is the production well, remains as liquid water due to higher pressure. So although the temperatures are higher than the boiling point, the pressure will be very high. Boiling point at atmospheric condition, the pressure will be very high, and because of that, although the water is at higher temperature, it remains in the liquid state. So those kind of system we call them as liquid dominated system. And in the liquid dominated system we have categorized that into two different sources. One is the high temperature source where the temperature of water will be above 175 degrees Celsius, and the other one is low temperature source where the temperature of water is below 175 degrees Celsius, but generally it will be above 100 degrees Celsius. So in these kind of cases we can utilize the high thermal energy available in the water and convert that into useful mechanical work. So for that purpose we have many different systems. First, let us see a single flash high temperature liquid dominated system. Again, this is a high temperature system where the water temperature will be above 175 degrees Celsius. In some of the places the water temperature is around 200, 230 or 250 degrees Celsius. So those kind of systems comes under high temperature liquid dominated system. And what we do here is, you can see the schematic of a single flash high temperature liquid dominated system. So here we have the production well through which we draw water from the geothermal source, and that will be throttled with the help of a valve. So we control or we throttle the hot water coming out of the geothermal source or the production valve with the help of a valve. Then that throttled water will be sent to the flash separator. So this unit we call it as flash separator. What it does is, we bring the pressure of water below its boiling point at 175 degree Celsius. When we bring the water pressure below that, water starts to boil and a part of water gets converted into steam. That steam, which will be a dry steam, will be sent to the turbine. So this is the turbine, and here in the flash separator you can see that we have provided baffles at the upper portion of the flash separator. So we have provided this so that when the dry steam is going out of the flash separator, it will not carry liquid water with it. So for that purpose we have provided the baffles here. So as the steam passes over this baffle, the liquid water gets separated, and then that liquid water will be having a higher concentration of salts, dissolved salts and minerals. So we call it as hot brine. So that will be sent back to the geothermal source. And then the dry steam which is coming out of the steam separator, so we are separating the steam, we are not boiling it here, we are just separating the steam. So what we are doing here is, when the water comes out of the production well, it will be at a higher temperature and the pressure will also be at a higher pressure. So what we do is, we reduce the pressure with the help of a throttle valve, and that results in boiling of water and formation of steam. The steam will be separated and then the dry steam passes through the turbine, and whatever liquid remains, that will have a higher concentration of dissolved salts and minerals, and that we call it as hot brine, and that will be reinjected back to the geothermal source. So the hot dry steam passes through the turbine, and the turbine absorbs the heat energy or the thermal energy available in the steam and converts that into mechanical energy, which will be coupled to a generator which produces electricity. After the steam expands in the turbine, the steam comes out of the turbine, and then we cannot directly leave the steam or re-inject the steam back into the geothermal source through the re-injection valve. So what we have to do is we need to bring it back to liquid state. So for that purpose, here we have a cooling tower which supplies cooling water for the direct contact condenser. So these are direct contact condenser, where the cold fluid comes directly in contact with this steam coming out of the turbine. So the water mixes with the steam and absorbs heat energy that converts the steam into liquid water. So by doing so, we are also increasing the pressure difference across the turbine, which in turn increases the work output or energy converted into the fluid energy converted into mechanical energy. The condensed water will be re-injected back into the re-injection well. At the same time, what we do is we take out a part of water, and that will be supplied or that will be passed through the cooling tower, because the water which is coming out of the condenser will be at a higher temperature, and the same water cannot be used for condensing the steam. So we need to bring the temperature to a lower value. So we use a cooling tower, and the cooling tower depends on the size and the amount of water. So if the amount of water is less, then we can go for a forced draft cooling tower, and if the amount of water is very high, then we can go for a natural draft cooling tower. So we have a cooling tower here. As the water falls through the cooling tower, so the air moves in the opposite direction, and the air removes the heat from the water, and the water gets cooled, and that water will be supplied for cooling in the condenser. So that water will be supplied as cooling water in the to the condenser. So this is the working of single flash high temperature liquid dominated geothermal source. Here we are not boiling the water, so the water is already at a higher temperature and higher pressure. We bring back the pressure below the saturation pressure at that temperature, which results in boiling of water, and that creates steam. So the steam moves upward, and the water which remains as it is because of the dissolved salts and minerals, so that we call it as hot brine, because its temperature will be higher. So that will be re-injected back into the re-injection well. So this, and the steam passes through the turbine, produces mechanical work, which will be coupled to a generator which produces electrical energy, and then the steam will be supplied to the condenser, where it gets condensed back into liquid water, and that will be re-injected, and a part of that liquid water will be supplied to the cooling tower, where its temperature further reduces, and then that will be supplied as cooling water for the direct contact condenser. So this is the working of single flash liquid dominated high temperature geothermal system. Then we have double flash high temperature liquid dominated system. So in the previous case we had only one flash separator, but here we have two flash separators. So the working is similar to that of the single flash separator system. We have the production well through which we draw water. That water will be at a higher temperature and higher pressure, because it is a liquid dominated system. So the water, and it's a high temperature system, so the water temperature will be above 175 degrees Celsius. So the liquid water at a higher temperature and higher pressure will be passed through a throttle valve, where its pressure reduces, and then it enters the steam separator, the first steam separator. So here a part of water gets converted into vapor, and the remaining water will be supplied to the next flash separator. So the steam which is formed will be at a higher pressure, and that will be passed through the high pressure turbine. So here we have two turbines, one is high pressure turbine and the other one is low pressure turbine. So then the hot water which is coming out of the first flash separator passes through the second flash separator, where the pressure will be below that of the first flash separator. Because of that, a part of the remaining water gets converted into vapor, but now it will be at a lower pressure than the first flash separator. So that low pressure steam will be combined with the steam coming out of the first high pressure turbine, and then those two combined steam enters the low pressure turbine. So the output of the pressure at the outlet of the high pressure turbine will be designed in such a way that will be slightly greater than the pressure of the steam coming out of the second flash separator, and then the entire mass of steam expands in the low pressure turbine, where further energy will be absorbed by the turbine blades, and both the high pressure and low pressure turbines are mounted on the same shaft. So that combined energy will be supplied to the generator, where it produces electrical energy, and the steam at the end of the low pressure turbine will be sent to the direct contact condenser. So for the direct contact condenser, we use the cooling water which is coming out of the cooling tower, and for the cooling tower we supply water, a part of water coming out of the condenser. So here in the condenser, the steam coming out of the low pressure turbine mixes directly with the cooling water and transfers its heat to the cooling water and gets condensed back into liquid water. So that liquid water will be at a higher temperature than the cooling water. So a part of the liquid water will be supplied to the cooling tower, where as it drops down to the bottom of the cooling tower, it gets cooled because the air will be flowing in the opposite direction, and there will be a direct contact between the air and water molecules, and water molecules transfer the energy to air molecules. So the air molecules will carry away the heat, and the cooled water will be collected at the bottom. From there it will be pumped back to the condenser. The remaining water will be sent back to the geothermal source with the help of the reinjection valve. This is the working of a single flash and double flash system. The next way of utilizing high temperature liquid dominated system is a concept called total flow concept. So in the previous case, if you remember, we had flash separator, and the steam was separated and the hot brine was separated, and that was re-injected back to the geothermal source. So a part of thermal energy was not utilized in the previous two methods. The concept here is that to utilize all the fluid coming out of the geothermal source to produce energy. So here what we do is we have the production well through which the high temperature water will be coming out, and that will be passed through a throttle valve where it slightly expands, and that forms a two-phase fluid. So there will be a liquid water as well as vapor. So that two-phase fluid will be passed through a mixed phase expander. So this expander is a special kind of expander or turbine which can convert energy from the vapor as well as liquid water, and here the two-phase fluid or two-phase water expands here, and the mechanical energy will be supplied to the generator which produces electrical energy, and then the two-phase fluid coming out of the expander will be supplied to a direct contact condenser, where the cooling water from the cooling tower will be supplied, and that cooling water mixes with the two-phase fluid and condenses that back to liquid water. That liquid water will be re-injected, and a part of that will be taken out and that will be at a higher temperature, so that needs to be cooled before using it as a cooling water. So we have a cooling tower through which the water passes, and as it passes through the cooling tower, the water temperature reduces, and that the low temperature water will be collected at the bottom, and from here it will be pumped back to the condenser. So that is the working of a two-phase concept. So this is still in concept state. This is another way of utilizing the high temperature liquid dominated geothermal source. Okay, now let us go to the low temperature liquid dominated system, where the temperature of water will be below 175 degrees Celsius. So in that case, here we have a binary fluid hydrothermal system. So in this system, what we do, instead of using the water which is coming out of the production well for producing electricity or converting that into steam or two-phase fluid and passing it through a turbine, so what we do is we use the water which is coming out of the geothermal source as a heat source for a binary fluid. So binary comes because here we have two different fluids working in this cycle or flowing in this cycle. One is the hot water coming out of the geothermal source, and the other one is a low boiling point fluid, such as here we are using isobutane. So it can be isobutane or a refrigerant can be used here. So they boil at lower pressure. So what we do here is we use the water coming out of the geothermal source as a heat source for the isobutane, in this case for the isobutane, and that heat will be transferred to the isobutane in the primary heat exchanger. So in the primary heat exchanger, the hot water coming out of the production well will transfer its thermal energy to isobutane, and the isobutane gets converted into vapor. So the saturated isobutane enters the primary heat exchanger, and vapor isobutane comes out of the primary heat exchanger. That vapor isobutane will be passed through the turbine, where the energy available in the isobutane will be absorbed by the blades of the turbine and converts that into mechanical energy, and that will be coupled to a generator which produces electricity. And then this spent isobutane coming out of the turbine will be passed through a regenerative heat exchanger. So here what we are doing is we have to send the isobutane coming out of the turbine will be a mixture of liquid and vapor isobutane. So before we supply that to the primary heat exchanger, we need to reduce its temperature and bring it back to liquid state. So what we do here is we need to remove heat to bring it back to liquid state. So for that purpose, here we have two different heat exchangers. One is the regenerative heat exchanger and the other one is condenser. So a mixed vapor as well as liquid isobutane coming out of the turbine will be passed through the regenerative heat exchanger and then passed through the condenser. So in the condenser, in the previous case, in liquid dominated high temperature systems, we for all the three systems we used direct contact condenser, where the cooling fluid was water and the steam was coming out of the turbine, or two-phase water was coming out of the turbine. So if they mixes directly, we don't have any problem, because cooling water is taken out from the condensed water. So here we used a direct contact condenser, but since we are using isobutane as working fluid here, so we cannot use direct contact condenser here. So we have to use a closed condenser, where the cooling water will be flowing through the pipes and the condensation of isobutane happens over the tubes. So the cooling water from the cooling tower will be flowing inside the tubes. So there will be bundle of tubes through which the cooling water will be flowing, and then the vapor of isobutane which is coming from the regenerative heat exchanger, so that will flow over the tubes and get condensed and get converted into liquid isobutane and gets collected at the bottom of the condenser. So that isobutane, the liquid isobutane, will be passed through the regenerative heat exchanger. So what is happening in the regenerative heat exchanger is that the isobutane coming out of the turbine will be at a slightly higher temperature. So we can still use the heat energy available in that, but that cannot be utilized in the turbine. So what we do is we allow heat exchange between the liquid isobutane and the vapor isobutane coming out of the turbine. So the liquid isobutane coming out of the condenser absorbs heat from the vapor and liquid mixture of isobutane coming out of the turbine, and the temperature of the isobutane here, liquid isobutane temperature increases to saturation temperature, and that saturated isobutane in the liquid state enters the primary heat exchanger. So in between these two, after the condenser and the regenerative heat exchanger, there will be a pump which pumps or which pressurizes the liquid isobutane before it enters the regenerative as well as primary heat exchanger. So from here, from the regenerative, it enters the primary heat exchangers, absorbs heat, gets converted into vapor, and that vapor passes through the turbine, and the mixture of vapor and liquid isobutane coming out will supply its remaining heat energy to the liquid isobutane coming from the condenser. So in the condenser, we don't use a direct contact condenser because the cooling fluid and the hot fluid are different here. So the hot fluid is vapor isobutane and the cold fluid here is cold water. So we cannot mix them together. So we use an indirect contact condenser where the liquid water, cooling water will be flowing through the bundle of tubes which are present inside the condenser, and the vapor isobutane will flow over the tubes, and as it flows over the tubes, it transfers its energy to the cooling water and gets condensed back into liquid state. So that liquid state will be, with the help of a pump here, it will be pressurized and sent to regenerative heat exchanger where it absorbs heat from the mixed vapor and the liquid isobutane coming out of the turbine. Thereby we can increase the efficiency of the cycle. This is the working of a liquid dominated low temperature system where we are using a binary fluid or a secondary fluid to work in the cycle. So this cycle we call it as Rankine cycle. So to work in the Rankine cycle we are using a secondary fluid, and the liquid water just acts as a heat source. We have seen the working of hydrothermal energy sources, how they can be utilized. Now let us see the next category, which is geopressurized sources. In this source, what we have is, we have a moderately high temperature which is from around 90 to 200 degrees Celsius at a depth of 3 to 6 kilometers from the earth surface, and at a very high pressure which go up to 1350 atmosphere. So in this condition, the water will be trapped. With water, methane gas will be dissolved. So due to very high pressure, methane gas will be dissolved in this water. So the methane gas which is dissolved here will be usually at a volume of 1.9 to 3.8 meter cube per meter cube of water. So if I take 1 meter cube of water, in that 1.9 to 3.8 meter cube of methane gas will be dissolved in this kind of resources. So here we can utilize the energy available in these kind of resources in three different ways. One is the thermal energy. Since it is at a very high temperature, we can use a flash separator and we can separate high temperature, very high pressure steam, and we can pass it through a turbine and we can produce mechanical energy, or we can produce electrical energy. And then since the pressure is very high, we can use that to extract mechanical energy or hydraulic energy. So we can use a flash separator and we can produce steam, and also since the pressure is very high, we can directly utilize the high pressure water coming out of the source, and then we can run a hydraulic turbine and produce mechanical energy which can be converted into electrical energy. And then we have the chemical energy, that is we have the methane gas, and that gas can be separated from the water and that can be utilized. We can burn the methane gas and we can utilize the chemical energy available in the methane gas and convert that into heat energy which can be utilized to produce mechanical work. So this is how we can utilize the geopressurized resources. Now let us look at the next category, that is hot dry rock or HDR resources. So here in this you can see that you have granite here. Granite is an impermeable rock, so water cannot seep through it, but granite will be at a very high temperature because it will be very close to a geothermal source. So its temperature will be very high. Above that we have sedimentary and volcanic rocks. So the temperature of this will be less because granite is a bad conductor of heat, so this will not be sufficiently heated. So what we can do in this kind of case is that we can create fractures in the granite rock. So to create fractures, we have discussed that we can use three different methods. First one, we will drill a well, so we will bore a well, and then once we reach the granite at a sufficient depth, then we can use three methods to create these fractures. First method is to utilize a regular explosive. By blasting the explosive at this depth, we can create fractures. The second method is hydraulic cracking, where we use very high pressure jet of water to create fractures in the granite rock, or you can use nuclear explosion. So if the site is very large, or if you want to create a very large fracture, then we can use nuclear explosion, but that comes with added operational cost and hazard for the people working in the power plant. So those are the three methods by which we can create fracture. Once we create fracture, we will create a production well through which we will take out the water. And in hot dry rock system, we don't want water which comes in contact with the hot dry rock to get vaporized. So we need to maintain water in liquid state. For that purpose, here we have a pressure equalizer. So this circuit is a closed circuit where the water flows from fractures to the primary heat exchanger and to the wall. Then with the help of pump, it will be pumped back to the geothermal source or the fracture, and for that purpose, to maintain a high pressure in this closed circuit, we have a pressure equalizer. And as the water flows through this circuit, there will be places where it gets lost. So to add the makeup water, here we have a provision. Through this inlet, we can add makeup water. The pump will help in keeping the circulation of water, and the pressure equalizer maintains a constant pressure in this closed cycle. Then when it comes to power production, so here we can use any binary fluid. So here we are using Freon. You can use any refrigerant or ammonia as a binary fluid. So here we have two heat exchangers. One is the primary heat exchanger, where the Freon in this case absorbs heat from the water coming out of the fractures and gets converted into superheated vapor of Freon. So that vapor of Freon passes through the turbine, where it expands and converts heat energy into mechanical energy. So that mechanical energy will be coupled to a generator which produces electrical energy. Then from here, the mixed phase vapor and liquid Freon passes into regenerative heat exchanger. In regenerative heat exchanger, what we do here is still the vapor will be having sufficient amount of energy, heat energy, and if we send it directly to the condenser, so this is condenser, if you directly send it to a condenser, then there will be loss of energy. So we will be losing certain amount of heat energy. So to utilize that heat energy, what we do is we have a regenerative heat exchanger. So here the mixture of vapor and liquid freon, which is at a higher temperature, transfers its heat energy to the liquid freon coming out of the cooling tower, coming out of the condenser. So in condenser we have a closed or indirect contact condenser where the cooling water will flow inside the ducts or inside the tubes, and the vapor and liquid mixture of freon flows over the tube and transfer their energy to the cooling water. So the cooling water absorbs heat energy and it gets warmer. At the same time, the freon condenses and gets collected at the bottom of the condenser. From there, again there will be a pump here which circulates freon in the secondary circuit. And once the cooling water gets warmer, we need to cool it back to original temperature. For that we are using a cooling tower. So in the case of cooling tower, the water is made to fall down and there will be air vents at the bottom through which the air will flow upward, and there will be a direct contact between the water and vapor, and that helps in cooling the water. The heat will be carried away by the cooling air and a part of water gets evaporated by thereby cooling the rest of the water. So that cold water will be collected at the bottom and then with the help of a pump it will be circulated to the condenser. So this is the working of a hot dry rock geothermal source. So here we have a geothermal source where we have a hot dry rock. So that's why the name, it is hot dry rock. We have a rock which is dry, there is no access for groundwater and it is very hot. So this hot dry rock can be used as source to utilize the geothermal energy. So what we do here is we create fractures, and this we will allow water to flow into this fracture, and we need water to be in liquid state. For that purpose we use a pressure equalizer. This pressure equalizer maintains a constant pressure in the primary circuit. So in the from the fractures we take out the hot water with the help of a production valve. So then the hot water passes through the primary heat exchanger, transferring its energy to the freon in this case, and we have a non-return valve here because it is a pressurized circuit and we need water to flow in only one direction. So the water has to enter the fractures through reinjection valve and it has to come out of the fractures through the production valve. For that purpose we have a non-return valve here which allows flow only in one direction. After that we have the pump, and a small amount of water will be lost as it passes through this circuit. For that purpose we have provision for adding makeup water, and then we have the pressure equalizer to maintain a constant pressure in the primary circuit. Once the heat is transferred to the freon, it becomes vapor and that passes through the turbine, converting heat energy into mechanical energy which is coupled to a generator producing electrical energy. Then that freon, which will be at a slightly higher temperature, can provide energy to the liquid freon coming out of the condenser. For that purpose we have the regenerative heat exchanger. From the regenerative heat exchanger, the vapor freon enters the condenser where we have an indirect contact condenser or closed condenser where the cooling water will be flowing through the bundles of tube and the hot freon vapor will be flowing over it, and as it flows over it, it gets condensed and collected at the bottom of the condenser. From here it will be sent to the regenerative heat exchanger where it gets heated till saturation temperature, and from there it enters the primary heat exchanger where it gets evaporated and that vapor enters the turbine. So that is the working cycle of a hot dry rock or geothermal source.